It makes a difference when a community gets thousands of new jobs. It makes a bigger difference when all of those jobs pay more than double the federal minimum wage. All Amazon employees make at least $15 an hour. Employees aren't the only ones who experience the impact of our starting wage. Neighbors like Sylvia and Francois of Sylvia's Cafe in Opelika, Florida, feel the impact of that extra spending money. See their story at aboutamazon.com/15.
When you're sick, every minute counts. So don't go anywhere. Go to dispatchhealth.com where high-quality medical care comes directly to you. No getting out of a sick bed. No crazy driving to an emergency room. No endless paperwork. No hospital waiting rooms. Visit dispatchhealth.com to learn about our medical professionals, then make house calls. Dispatch Health is covered by Medicare and most major insurance. Go to dispatchhealth.com.
KFI AM 640 Los Angeles, Orange County.
And KOST HD2.
It's 5 a.m. What did you miss?
It's time for Wake Up Call with Jennifer Jones-Lee.
Oh, good morning. Man, what a bittersweet day this is today. Handel is back. This is John Ramirez's last day. I'm a little happy, a little sad. What a day it is. Thursday, July 22nd. Glad you're here. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, and here's what's up on your wake-up call. Doctors are calling the latest uptick in COVID-19 cases the summer surge. The LAPD's Inspector General says a recent review shows 22% of officers failed to activate their body cam at the start of a use of force incident, and people in wildfire danger areas around the state could soon get expanded homeowners insurance if they can't find a policy anywhere else. 5:05, we'll talk with ABC's Ben Siegel. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi rejected a couple of Republican lawmakers to sit on her January investigation committee of the riot at the Capitol. Who were they? Why did she reject them? And where do we go from here? We'll talk about all of that with Ben in just a few minutes. But let's go ahead and start with some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Doctors are calling the latest uptick in COVID-19 cases the summer surge. Some fully vaccinated people, as we've been talking about, have been getting infected. Medical Director of Infection Prevention at Ochsner Health, Dr. Catherine Baumgartner, says vaccinations are the most effective way to stop the spread of the virus.
We are still highly encouraging vaccination because we know that's what's going to make the difference in this surge.
Nearly 162 million Americans are fully vaccinated. Here in LA County, health officials have reported there were 2,551 new cases of COVID-19 in their last update. They say yesterday's number is the biggest daily total since mid-February. Officials say it's being caused by the highly infectious Delta variant and more people mingling in public. It was the 13th straight day that number has topped 1,000. A mandatory mask order has gone into effect in Pasadena for public indoor areas. The mandate went into effect this morning. People in the city will be required to wear a face mask whether they're vaccinated or not. LA and Long Beach have also put in mask requirements because of the rise in COVID-19 cases in California and across the country. Well, people in wildfire danger areas around the state could soon get expanded homeowners insurance if they can't find a policy anywhere else.
There are people across the state where the FAIR Plan is the only option.
Deputy Insurance Commissioner Michael Soller says a court ruling that the California FAIR Plan offer more than fire-only coverage will help a growing number of more than 100,000 homeowners.
In the foothills or San Bernardino, Lake Arrowhead area or the Sierra.
He says things like personal liability, theft, and water damage should be offered.
It doesn't seem fair that my company non-renewed me, forced me to go to the FAIR Plan, and now is selling me this extra coverage at an extra cost.
The FAIR Plan says it's willing to collaborate to find ways to increase options for customers. In LA, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
Pacific Gas and Electric says it's going to bury 10,000 miles of power lines across California in areas that have the highest chance of wildfires. The utility company says burying power lines will reduce the chance of them coming down in high winds and possibly starting a fire. PG&E has been forced to pay millions of dollars in settlements and fines because of fires across the state linked to its power line equipment. The LAPD's Inspector General says a recent review shows 22% of officers failed to activate their body cam at the start of a use of force incident.
The report took a look at the actions of 262 officers involved in 53 cases of use of force and concluded 41 officers delayed activation while 7 didn't even turn them on. Inspector General Mark Smith told the Police Commission this week, while there were some gaps in performance, there was also full compliance. Since 2018, officers have been required to keep cameras powered on. Of 51 other cases reviewed, 33 officers in the field violated policy by not having their cameras on. Chief Moore says he's been slowly escalating disciplinary action for those who violate policy. Steve Gregory, KFI News.
LA County Sheriff Villanueva says his homeless outreach teams are heading back to the Venice Boardwalk. Villanueva says they took a break to allow the city of LA and Councilman Mike Bonin to do some cleanup and outreach, but the sheriff says that effort doesn't seem to be working. The drama behind it all is yeah. His teams also did an assessment of 250 homeless people along the boardwalk and found out only 33 are from California.
And then we have from Illinois, Louisiana, we got 3 from Michigan, we got 3 from Ohio, 3 from Texas, we got Colorado, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Georgia.
Villanueva says people from 11 additional states are also on the list, as well as homeless people from Mexico, Iraq, and Germany. All right, when we come back, we'll talk with ABC's Ben Siegel about House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying no thanks to 2 Republican lawmakers to sit on her January investigation committee of the riot at the Capitol. Was it just those 2 specifically? If so, why? And will there be any other Republicans other than Liz Cheney on the committee? We'll find out. 5:06 on your wake-up call. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Ben Siegel, good morning to you. So let's talk about House Speaker Pelosi saying no thank you to 2 Republican members being on her committee to investigate the attack at the Capitol in January. Who were these 2 members, and why specifically did she say no to them?
Good morning. Yeah, that's right. Pelosi said that she would not allow Republicans to seat Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio and Jim Banks of Indiana, essentially because she thought that they were a distraction to what the committee was set out to do. Banks, who is a member of House GOP leadership, put out a statement on Monday saying that Pelosi put together this committee solely to malign conservatives, and she thought that was sort of beyond the pale and wasn't a serious commitment to investigating what went on January 6th. And as for Jim Jordan, reporting from ABC and other news outlets has shown that Jordan was, part of these strategy sessions with other Republican members and some people at the White House planning for the objection to the election results on the floor of the House on January 6th. Liz Cheney later said he could be a material witness to the investigation. So, those were 2 reasons that Democrats felt like these 2 members could not serve on the committee, and that the offer from McCarthy they felt was an unserious one, which led Pelosi to take, as she admitted, was an unprecedented move in denying Republicans the ability to select their own members.
Could they come back and say, okay, here are 2 people that we feel are a little more toward the middle, like a Liz Cheney, and therefore can they come sit on the committee? Or is this going to be the hard and fast rule, none of them, period?
Well, that was one of the options that was sort of set out for Kevin McCarthy by Pelosi. Pelosi approved 3 other members McCarthy recommended, and they said she suggested going back and finding 2 other members. And McCarthy certainly could have done that, or they certainly could have at least sat those 3 members and not recommended anybody else, given that they were already in the minority. But Republicans instead came back and said, if you won't seat 2 of our members, then none of us will participate, and none of us will lend our voice to this panel and give it legitimacy. They believe that this is a example of why the process was broken from the beginning, and they're going to now set up their own committee. Of course, it's worth noting that McCarthy and other Republicans rejected Pelosi's initial request, which was an independent, commission modeled after the 9/11 commission that would have given Republicans equal say over subpoena power and steps in the investigation. They voted against that in the House floor, blocked it in the Senate, and that's what led Pelosi down the path of a select committee in the first place.
Liz Cheney told reporters after hearing McCarthy's comments, she called them disgraceful and said she agrees with Pelosi's decision to reject the 2 Republicans. And I just have to wonder what Liz Cheney's future is. Where does she go from here in the sense of She's being pushed from the Republican Party. She's almost being welcomed in by the Democratic Party. What does she do? What's her political future like?
I think that's really an unsettled question. You know, there are some Republicans who are even more angry with Liz Cheney now after what she said yesterday than they were 3 months ago, which is really something considering how angry so many of them were. She says she's still up for her primary, fighting for her political life. Former President Trump has said he's meeting with possible opponents to her in Wyoming and is expected to endorse one of them. So in the immediate future, she's making the bet on sticking to her principles and saying that she can, help chart a course for the Republican Party from within. Of course, the history suggests that there is not room in the Republican Party for anybody who is not just not aligned with President Trump, but openly critical of him and some of his top allies. We've seen Jeff Flake and Bob Corker and others sort of exiled from the Republican Party, sent into early retirement. And it's hard to imagine, Liz Cheney defying history here, but that's, of course, what she's trying to do. It remains to be seen whether she'll be successful in that.
All right. Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
See you later. That is ABC's Ben Siegel. You just have to wonder, she's got to have a game plan, because to constantly push back against her party like this, and I'm not judging one way or the other whether it's right or not. This is specifically from a what's my future look like aspect. And you have to wonder, what is her plan? Does she take herself out of the Republican Party and affiliate as an independent? Could she be a moderate Democrat? Some say she already is. But I just wonder what her plan is for the future, because the majority of the Republican Party isn't very thrilled with her. Is that fair to say? All right, let's get back to some of these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The LA Homeless Services Authority says there's been a nearly 60% increase in homeless shelter space over the last 3 years. LAHSA says there is enough room in local shelters for nearly 24,000 people, and there are nearly 34,000 permanent housing options. But the shelter and housing options still aren't enough for all the homeless people in LA. Last year's homeless count showed there were at least 66,000 homeless people in LA County. Conservative talk show host Larry Elder has won his lawsuit against California's Secretary of State.
I will be included on the ballot to recall this Governor Gavin Newsom.
Elder sued the state when his name was left off the initial list of candidates in the recall election. The Secretary of State said he filed incomplete tax returns. Elder's lawyer, Stephen Barrick, says argued his client submitted hundreds of documents, even though he didn't have to.
The plain language of the statute says it applies to direct primary elections. We do not have that here. This is a recall election.
The judge agreed. The recall election is September 14th. Well, First Lady Jill Biden has arrived in Japan for the Tokyo Olympics. The First Lady appeared before cameras with Japanese Prime Minister Yoshida Suga and his wife before sitting down to dinner with them at the at a palace in Tokyo.
Warning. Olympics spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Okay, so that is what you're going to hear every time before I do any Olympics results, okay? Want one more time? Here's what you're listening for.
It includes...
No, not that guy. This thing.
Warning. Olympics spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Okay, pretty self-explanatory, right? So here I go. I'm going to give you some results. The U.S. softball team chalked up its second straight win at the Olympics with a 1-0 victory over Canada. American pitcher Monica Abbott struck out 9 and walked 3 in today's game in Tokyo. The U.S. plays Mexico next and then Australia. You go, ladies. L.A. is one of 5 cities in the U.S. where the Justice Department is setting up gun trafficking strike forces. Attorney General Merrick Garland says it's part of an effort to cut violent crime. He says the strike forces will target illegal trafficking that helps criminals get a hold of guns. City officials in Long Beach are trying to figure out what to do with the Queen Mary. One council member says keeping the ship afloat would be a good investment since it draws in more than 1 million visitors a year. City manager Tom Medica says they've already spent $5 million on safety repairs.
It includes flood modeling to assess the ship's stability, an all hazards response plan, water intrusion alarm system, temporary bilge pump systems, bulkhead repairs, emergency generators, and lifeboat removal.
An engineering consulting firm told the city the ship could be preserved, deconstructed, recycled, or turned into an artificial reef. They estimate any of those options would cost about $100 million. All right, when we come back, I'm looking forward to talking with this lady. Her name is Dr. Tiffany Thompson. She's the founder and CEO of Karma. Karma stands for Compassionate Animal Rescue for Medical Aid. She's also the owner of Mission Pet Hospital. Now, what's different about Karma, we talk a lot about animal rescues that take in stray animals, and there are certain shelters that have their own medical division, right? But what about a rescue that specifically focuses on animals that have severe medical needs? They get them through that process, and then they get them onto adoption. Well, this group does it all. So we're going to talk with Dr. Thompson about Karma coming up in just a second. Also, straight ahead, it's your chance to win $1,000. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Welcome to it Thursday. Your weekend is right around the corner. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, and some of the stories we're watching in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. LA County health officials have reported there were 2,551 new cases of COVID-19 in their latest update. They say yesterday's number is the biggest daily total since mid-February, and a mandatory mask order has gone into effect in Pasadena for public indoor areas. The mandate went into effect this morning. 5:35, we'll talk with ABC's Tom Rivers. Hey, if you were hoping to travel to Europe anytime soon, to anywhere that is open right now, there's some major destinations that want to make sure that you can prove that you have had a COVID-19 vaccine. So I'll tell you more about that with Tom in just a second. But right now, without further ado, it's your chance to win some cash.
KFI has your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword BANK, B-A-N-K, to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's BANK to 200-200.
You know the drill. If you win, you get a call from a number you don't recognize. Please answer that call. I've actually been contacted by listeners who have won and said, I did what you said. I answered the call. And they won the $1,000. So be like one of them. Your next chance to win comes at 7:20 with Handel, who, like I said earlier, is back. That comes at 7:20 with him. All right, right now let's say good morning to Dr. Tiffany Thompson, who I have been looking forward to talking to because, Tiffany, you're one of the first guests that I have ever told my producer, I don't even know if I want to read that story. And then when I read it, thought to myself, not only am I glad I read that story, but I am so glad to know that there are people out there who are literally doing miracles on some of our animals that are getting hit by cars, that are, victims of abuse, that sort of thing. I just want to say thank you for what you're doing, and I'm sorry that I cringed in the first place. You didn't even know that, but you just needed to know.
I completely understand, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Dr. Tiffany Thompson is the founder and CEO of Karma, and Karma stands for Compassionate Animal Rescue for Medical Aid. And so everybody listening understands, Alex, my producer, sent me an article that was talking about the miracle that was performed on this. It was a lab mix that had been left outside in 100, plus degree weather with no water for a week or so. And the people who brought it in, and Doctor, please correct me if I'm wrong on this story, but the people that brought it in basically said, like, I don't know, it just was dehydrated. It was like this when we got home. You guys went through some life-saving procedures where I think probably other shelters would have stopped, but you guys went through and did some amazing things for this dog, who is now up and lovely and with the foster family now and probably just looking for its forever home.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic, and actually, hopefully, is in his forever home. His foster, we're thinking, is going to end up keeping him.
Yay, a foster failure.
Yeah.
I love it.
Exactly. So, yeah, he was as close to death as he could have been without actually being dead. He was in critical condition, needless to say, and, yeah, it took a good, intensive 12 hours of care to even get him conscious again.
So Karma is a group of veterinary professionals who you guys are dedicated to making sure that the people in our community or all throughout Southern California get the love for animals. But these animals that come to you are sometimes the animals that I would think there are some shelters that would probably turn away or think we don't have the resources or the funding to help this animal out. But you guys, this is why we're on this morning. I want people to donate to Karma if they can. But you guys are the place that those animals can go.
Right. So I'm a veterinarian and I own an animal hospital and have owned it for over 20 years and was doing work with a lot of rescue groups and realized that the primary reason rescue groups can't take animals is funding. And veterinary care is a huge part of that. And I thought, there's a niche here that I can fill. I can start my own rescue and donate my own time and fill this niche of, veterinary care that's needed. And these animals are completely fixable. They're just difficult and time-consuming, and they take the funds to do it. And if I can cut those funds back and get, these animals saved, then it's a huge contribution that we can make. So I got together with a bunch of my friends also in the field, and we started Karma. And ever since 2012, have been a 501c3 and have been doing what we do and taking in the hit by cars and with broken bones and the parvo puppies and the sick kittens and the eye issues and all of the different things that a lot of rescues, you're right, they just can't afford to take them. They would like to, but they're a huge drain. For those rescues.
Oh, absolutely. And I think when we walk through a rescue, we have seen these dogs then that have already had all of those different issues. They've been hit by the car. They've been, they've had parvo or whatever. When we see them in the shelters, all we see are these adorable animals that have been, that somebody has volunteered their time maybe to come in and groom them and whatever. We have no idea what it took to get them there. And you guys are even that step back from that, where you're having to decide, how do we treat them? How do we get these animals just to live before they even get to the let's go groom them and put them in one of the shelters kind of place?
Right.
How do the animals come to you? Do you get calls from shelters? Does somebody call you directly? How does this work?
A little bit of everything. We do pull from most of the local kill shelters in the area so that these animals, because they definitely would be put to sleep because they just don't have, the shelters for sure don't have the resources. And lots of rescues will pull from local shelters and they'll pull the cute, happy, healthy puppies, but the ones that are sick and debilitated or injured have much lower chance of getting out of the shelter. So we pull them prior to euthanasia. And then we get a decent amount from local emergency clinics, which is actually where the one you read about came from, was an emergency clinic. And so the veterinarians in the emergency clinics know of us. So when they have a case that comes in that they're like, we could fix this, why are we putting it to sleep? And they'll talk to the owners about maybe relinquishing to a rescue instead of putting them to sleep so that the rescue can take over the responsibility. So I get a bunch of those from local emergency animal hospitals as well.
And it's always heartbreaking to me when you have an emergency situation, a family takes an animal to the vet, they don't have the money to maybe go through the process to get that animal the care that it needs. And sometimes it's almost I'm sorry, I don't have the money, let's just put them down kind of thing. And for me, that's not an option. I think I would eat ice and top ramen before that would happen. Right. But other people, they make a different decision. And that's where you guys can step in and save these animals, which is just literally, I've said miracle 2 or 3 times, but it is miraculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, we're there. We offer that alternative. There are lots of charities out there that actually help fund emergency medical care. So if people are really willing to put in the work and the legwork, they can find a way to take care of their pet most of the time. So these are the people that either don't want to spend the money or legitimately don't have the money or the time to spend funding it, but we're there as an alternative for those.
You are my hero. You're not my hero of the morning. I think you're my hero of the month. Dr. Tiffany Thompson, founder and CEO of Karma, Compassionate Animal Rescue for Medical Aid. How can people donate to you? Because I know there are people out there listening this morning that are like, that's what I want to get behind.
We have PayPal at CARMAOC at Cox.net. We have a website, CARMAOC.org. We have Venmo if you look it up under the full name, Compassionate Animal Rescue for Medical Aid.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for what you're doing, and keep up the wonderful work.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I want to bring attention to you guys. You guys are amazing. That is Dr. Tiffany Thompson, founder and CEO of Karma. Again, go to Karma, CARMAOC.org. And that's where you can go and you can donate and help this amazing cause, because they are that first step in actually getting some of these sick and injured animals into those shelters where you go and then make them your forever friend. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Oh, look at that weekend. Can you see it just over the Thursday horizon? It's Friday Eve. Shannon Farron is asleep right now, and I probably just made her cringe in her sleep. She doesn't know why. She hates when people say Friday Eve, which just makes me want to say it more, of course. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, and some of the stories we're watching in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. A judge in L.A. has agreed that a last resort insurance plan for homeowners in wildfire areas should also offer coverage for personal liability, theft, and water damage. Deputy Insurance Commissioner Michael Soller says the court upheld the commission's authority to order the FAIR plan to expand coverage. The FAIR plan says it's willing to collaborate with the commissioner to find financially responsible ways to increase options for customers. And PG&E says it's going to bury 10,000 miles of power lines across California in areas that have the highest chance of wildfires. The utility company says burying lines will reduce the chance of them coming down in high winds and possibly starting a fire. All right now let's say good morning to ABC's Tom Rivers. So I guess if you were hoping to travel to Europe anytime soon, you need to make sure you take more than your passport with you, huh, Tom?
I guess so. It's either a sign of the times or it is the quote-unquote domestic passport by the back door. But, as of right now, you want to go check out the Eiffel Tower in Paris, you got to bring with you some kind of certification saying you've had a couple of shots, maybe an app on a smartphone, something of that nature. Either that or you have to bring some documentation that you've had a negative test within the past day or two, or certification that, I had COVID and doc said it was whatever. 6 weeks ago, there you go. Messy, time-consuming. Can we see your papers? But it's what they're using right now to combat this third wave of the Delta variant, which seems to be growing just about everywhere.
And I think that one of the things, too, that while that sounds like you have a lot of options, like you said, the word messy also comes to mind, or confusing, or wait, what is valid and what is not? And different countries, do they require different things? So that, I think, would, especially if you were bopping from country to country, it would be different. Yeah. Like, what do I need here? What do I need in this area?
You're right. One size does not fit all. They're having the problems here, obviously, with the UK, no longer part of the European Union. If you get 2 shots in the UK, is that good in France? It may be. Is it good in Germany? Maybe not. It is a minefield right now.
Do you guys see in Europe overall, are you seeing a decrease in tourists, even in the times when things are open, things are not? Just because people, from the pure aspect of, I don't even know if I can go or what's open, and I'm not going to take that big trip to Europe until I know everything's open again.
Yep, the numbers really, really are down just about everywhere. So everybody's singing the same sad tune, if you will. And it really won't. I can't see how it's going to pick up until finally you say, no, we're on the backside of this pandemic now. We're kind of back to normal, because always there's going to be yet another variant. There's going to be another wave to be concerned about here in the UK. In theory, most of the restrictions now have been lifted, but the proviso is come the end of September, the government wants to put in place some kind of sign that you've had 2 shots if you want to get into a nightclub and other large gatherings. Does that mean sports stadiums? Probably. This country's going to go ballistic. That'll be the prime time of the top premiership of football season here. And if you have to also go to the stadium with your smartphone and your app, and there's going to be one heck of a pushback here on that one.
Oh, absolutely. And then you have to sort of future trip on this in the sense of, are we going to need that booster shot? And then if so, you want to talk about even messier, because then you're going to have whoever's responsibility it is to check and see when you got your vaccine. Say that they tell us you need one every 12 months. Now that person's going to have to check dates, make sure you fall in line with that. Now that word messy really comes into play there.
Oh, very much so. You're going to have to hire, and somebody, I guess larger things, I suppose in sports stadiums, you could get used to it, maybe. But if you're just a mom and pop that runs a local pub, you got to hire, additional personnel now at the door to check people. There may not be enough money in the cookie jar for that if you're a small operation. So, it's going to affect different companies in different ways. And the question, too, is, look at governments and laws. Once the government gets these things in place, it's easy to put them in place. It's hard to roll them back.
Yes.
That
is so true.
Taxes, once upon a time, were a temporary measure. Well, my friend, you get them from birth to death in this 21st century.
Absolutely. Oh, Tom, well, I'm sorry that you are just right there in the middle of that spider's web.
I didn't know where to go, but just stay put and watch the parade from the curb here in London.
There you go. All right, Tom, keep that attitude. I'll talk to you again soon.
Take care.
Thanks. See you later. ABC's Tom Rivers. So my friend Maria from Chico, she and her daughter Kate flew in last night. So they flew from Sacramento to Ontario. She got off the plane and we all went home last night, and then we said, okay, let's go get some dinner. And their first question was, oh, yeah, are we in a place where you mask or you don't mask? And I said, no, we're in San Bernardino County, so you don't have to mask. But if we were to go into LA County and meet another friend of ours who was in town, then we would have to. And then her daughter was teasing her all night about not bringing their actual COVID vaccine cards with them because they overheard me talking about the stories that I was going to do this morning, one of them being you needed your COVID to go to the Eiffel Tower. You needed that vaccine passport, if you will, or proof. And it is just even in the state, because they left an area, Chico, which they are dealing with fires there. They're kind of not focused on the mask mandates, just traveling down the state. And they're like, wait, where are we? Okay, wait. So tomorrow when we go visit a friend in LA County, we have to have a mask. But then after that, we're going to go visit family in Orange County, so we won't need the mask. It is a freaking mess. By the way, if you would like to see some pictures of us staying way too late last night, this is what you do when your girlfriend comes in that you've had as a friend for over 20 years, and her daughter is now old enough to be part of, conversation. And I should tell you, by the way, that Kate, this adorable girl that you're going to see in these pictures, at JJLKFI on Instagram, Kate was supposed to be in my wedding. And I know I say this because anybody who's ever gotten married, you have a flower girl and a ring bearer, right? And so I had a couple of different flower girls. I had a junior flower girl, and then I had the little flower girl. Kate was the little flower girl. She was 6 days away from turning 2. Why did I think that was a good idea? Why did I think there would be no drama with a kid who was about to turn 2 years old in a wedding where she's going to have to walk down this, we got married in a vineyard, and it was at a winery, and it was oodles of stairs that this poor child was going to have to walk down. But in my mind, she's going to be so cute in pictures. Kate pitched the biggest fit I have ever seen a child to the point to this day. I sort of applaud her for it. Like the phrase, go big or go home. Needless to say, Kate did not make it down the aisle in our wedding. Nope. Looked cute there in the crowd in her dress sitting on her dad's lap, but nope. Anyway, it was just cool to see how that kid evolved into a young lady and is involved in grown-up conversations now. So it's just kind of fun when you meet up with that friend of yours that you haven't seen for years. And you and the friend, it's like nothing ever happened, but now they're a mom of kids, or now they're, whatever. They're, now that one single friend of yours that you never thought would get married is married. It's just kind of fun. So anyway, JJLKFI, if you want to see our shenanigans last night. And yes, she is a Giants fan. I know. To my chagrin, too. It was very early on in our relationship that we had to come to terms with the fact that she was a Giants fan and I was a Dodgers fan, and that we could still be friends for the most part. And then the Giants won last night. But I digress. A former supermarket in a vacant building has caught fire in Sun Valley. The LA Fire Department says it started just after 3 this morning. The department says more than 100 firefighters put it out in an hour and a half. The 80,000 square foot building was built in 1958. The LAPD says a preliminary investigation that officers appear to have used a reasonable amount of force on protesters that gathered at the Wi Spa in Koreatown last weekend. Deputy Chief Al Labrada says an unlawful assembly had been declared Saturday morning when a pro-transgender rights group and counter-protesters started to get aggressive with each other.
Both groups were instantly vocal towards one another and threatening, and items were being thrown such as water bottles, smoke bombs, and other objects were being thrown towards each of the groups as well as our officers.
Labrada says officers had to respond to several threats from protesters, and some clips of the interaction made it to social media. 41 people were arrested in those protests. 10 people in Louisiana have been arrested for allegedly stealing more than $1 million through unemployment scams here in California. Our scams transcended state lines. Investigators say more than 100 false EDD claims were filed to get the money. They say 5 people in the group have also been charged with stealing more than $60,000 from the Louisiana Workforce Commission. Governor Newsom has signed a bill to combat organized shoplifting and promised to get more guns off the streets.
39.7 million reasons to underscore that. That's the number of people not living in the state of California, but coincidentally, a number of people that got FBI background checks last year for the purchases of guns.
During a recent visit to Long Beach, Newsom talked about $10.4 million investment into gun violence reduction, as well as investments into programs to stop crime before it happens. Recall supporters say Californians deserve a governor who cares about their safety all the time, not just when facing the threat of recall. Well, a billboard remembering those cows that were killed at a slaughterhouse has gone up in Pico Rivera.
The billboard has a picture of a group of cows in a pasture with the words, "Remember the Pico Rivera 41" and "Save the Animals." A group of 41 cows escaped the slaughterhouse out a gate and ran through the streets, but all but 3 of the cows were captured and killed anyway. 2 were found and rescued days later, including one pictured on the billboard, and sent to a sanctuary. Animal activist groups paid for the billboard and say with so many plant-based food options available, it doesn't make sense to keep killing and eating animals. Brian Berman, KFI News.
And animal care officials in LA County have started a campaign called Got Kittens to keep strays from being accidentally separated from their moms when they're brought to shelters. They say kittens that are found quiet, healthy, and clean are probably being cared for by the mother, and they should stay in her care. Many kittens don't survive in shelters because of overcrowding, stress, and illness. All right, when we come back, it is my sad moment of the morning. I'm happy for John. I'm happy for John Ramirez. But he's leaving us. So is there that part of me that wants to trip him and tie him to a chair and not let him leave? Yes. But am I proud of him for the next chapter in his life? Of course. Still mad at him for wanting to leave us. But he's going, and today is his last day. So I want to talk with John about where he's headed next. He can fill you in on his new venture. And I want to know if he's got any, behind-the-scenes gossip or memories that he wants to share with you. And I don't have control of his mic, so I guess he can say whatever he wants to say. So I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. But John's coming up in just a second.
One last time. Relax, have a drink with me one last time. Let's take a break tonight and then we'll teach you how
John
to
Ramirez.
Just say goodbye.
It's KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. John Ramirez, I'm going to miss your butt. You have been so much fun to have as a kind of like a little brother in the mornings here on Wake Up Call because I consider us all a family. And I feel like I'm the really dysfunctional big sister of you guys that you should never learn anything from other than just have fun with and have a good time. And I hope that that's what you have had over all these years on Wake Up Call. I'm proud of you. You're going to Sony.
Yeah, so it's a whole new world for me. You know, when I started this career in radio, 6 years ago, I was an intern in 2014. I took a year off to do mission work. And then I came back, arms wide open. Michelle Cube, our executive producer, welcomed me quickly. And I was raised by, two amazing grandparents. And I bring this story up all the time when I talk about my start in radio, because for them, my grandparents were, they came from a different era, I'm not calling them old, but they came from a time and place where like music, radio, entertainment, movies, all that stuff was like meant for certain people, like people not like them, because, my grandfather was, a handyman. My grandmother was a special education teacher, and all they knew, and not to put, plugs out there, but really, truthfully, all they knew was K-Earth 101, Mega 100 with Art LeBeau, and like Coast to Coast, what we have here on KFI. And they didn't know how I was going to do it, but they just, I guess they put their trust in me. We're like, yeah, just go do what you got to do. And, I went to, Cal State Dominguez Hills. I always had a love for radio. I had a love for film. And I got to get, my start in radio at the age of, 21, and I didn't know where this was going to end up. I didn't know what I was going to do. And, I went to film school because, in radio, as you all know, it's not like you get to go right into, on the air. We all know that, right, everybody? You don't just go right on the air. You don't just get to be, just make a name for yourself. I don't think anyway you make a name for yourself right away. You have to work your way up. And went to film school, came back. And when I finished that while I was working here, I was very lucky and very blessed to get my start with you. And, of course, Bill right after this. And it's been a wild, crazy, and at times emotional but fun ride.
Well, I can tell you that you have been such it's so fun in a way, and I will just say this once because I've given you such a hard time. I am so proud of you, somebody who works that hard in school, gets their master's degree. The minute I heard you were getting your master's degree, I went, well, what's he doing on this freaking show? That guy is way overqualified to be on this. The minute I knew that, I knew you were going to be somebody that I was going to get to watch and was going to grow, and we were simply going to be a stepping stone, as well we should be, on this amazing career that you've got ahead. I'm thrilled. I can't wait to see where you go from here. I sound like a, Dr. Seuss books, but seriously, the places you'll go. I'm excited for you.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I'm headed, right off the 101 and the 405. If you drive that, please clear the way for me, because I heard that is a mess at the time that I will be going, because, when you wake up at, 4 o'clock, there's nobody on the freeway. So, hey, if you're driving on the 101 and the 405 around 7 o'clock, it's just, just make your way for a silver and black Prius. That'd be great.
All right. We'll send that message to Jeff Bob. But I am so proud of you, John. Today is your last day. And here, the big grand finale. I'm buying breakfast. I'm Grubhubbing Bob's Big Boy over here. So put your orders in right now.
I'm so grateful. I love Bob's Big Boy. I literally, it was either that or Chick-fil-A. So it's Bob's Big Boy, and then Chick-fil-A comes second.
Well, and Alex, what were the two places that I suggested yesterday that I thought he liked?
Bob's and Chick-fil-A.
That's
Bam.
It. Bob's Double Decker or Chick-fil-A, just a simple egg sandwich with chicken.
All right, we're doing Bob's. Let's go big, shall we? And finally, John, this is for you to end Wake Up Call. What, if anything, at Disneyland
No, we're not doing
could they
this.
Get rid of to make room for something else?
Oh my gosh, the Tiki Room. Get those birds out of there. The song, the everything. Oh gosh, no.
Ramirez doesn't like the Tiki Room. He'd rather take his Dole Whip elsewhere to consume. John Ramirez doesn't like the Tiki Room.
John, we're gonna miss you. It's KFI and KOSTHD2 Los Angeles. This has been your Wake Up Call.
Summer is here, and it's time to say goodbye to your old vacation and say hello to Camelback Resort. Stay at Camelback Lodge. The suites are all newly renovated. Splash at Aquatopia Indoor Water Park or Camel Beach Outdoor Water Park. Over 50 rides, slides, and attractions. Play at Camelback Mountain Adventures. Take the fun off-road with the new Switchback UTV tours. Just 90 minutes from New York and the Pocono Mountains. That's where we want to be this summer, at Camelback. Book your summer getaway today at camelbackresort.com.
90 Day is going tropical on the new Discovery Plus original series, Love in Paradise, the Caribbean. It's a vacation love story where sun, surf, and seduction collide. 4 Americans are traveling back to the exotic islands where they hope their sexy romances can turn into forever. Love in Paradise, the Caribbean, a 90-day story. Streaming now only on Discovery Plus. Start your free trial. Terms apply.